I would like you to bear with me for a minute and take a moment of personal privilege, not to speak to you as a president, CEO. I worked for years in the bank, never got a title like that. I had to come somewhere else. But I want to share with you what United Way means to me. So let me take my name tag off, maybe not literally, and just share with you a story about United Way. Some of you have heard this before, but I like to share it, and they asked that I share it today with you all. Story about a situation a family here in Montgomery encountered several years ago, and they found themselves in an interesting situation. Now, a little background. This story begins in 1984. I'd been in banking for 11 years at that time here in Montgomery, working for then First Alabama Bank. And I'd been told to do three things if I wanted to further my career in banking, besides do my job. That was just part of it. One was join a church. Well, I didn't have an option there. My mother would have, I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't gotten in the church, so let's just face it. Second was get in a civic club. So Kiwanis chose me. I'm very fortunate to have been chosen to be a member of Kiwanis. And the third thing was, in those days, it was called charity. Get involved in charity work. And I was voluntold that United Way would love to have me help them. So, being voluntold, and my boss said do it, I went to work as a volunteer for United Way. Oh, in the late 70s, mid to late 70s, working whatever they needed to be done. Now, back to the family. The family that I'm going to talk about a bit had been blessed with a new son in 1981. And in 1984, when he was 3 years old, it was clear that something wasn't quite right with the young man. You know, he wasn't walking, he wasn't talking, didn't interact with people very well, and the family was concerned. Doctors would say, he's just a little boy, it'd take him forever to grow up. Some of us never do. But they told the family owner, well, finally, the mother just knew, as a mother would sense, there's just something not right with my 3-year-old. Search for doctors began in Montgomery. Many said the same thing over and over until finally one doctor said, I'd like you to take your son to the Motsky Clinic. Now, the Motsky Clinic in those days was a major component of the Children's Center, where special needs children went to be evaluated. And they took the young man to the Motsky Clinic. Longer story, even shorter, they did some testing analysis and recommended that he be sent to Birmingham, to UAB, to the genetics clinic, where he spent a number of months back and forth. And with all that study, they determined that the young man had what is now known as Fragile X syndrome. Then virtually unknown. He was the second known diagnosed case in the state of Alabama, and only a dozen in the whole country in 1984. Today, it's recognized as one of the top 5 causes of intellectual and physical disability in the world. It's a genetic defect. Well, you can imagine the devastation that a family would have coming back from Birmingham to Montgomery, knowing that their son had this disability. Not only that, they were told, may not ever walk, may not ever talk, may not certainly interact with anyone properly, but worse, he could require institutionalization at some point if he didn't develop further than they anticipated. So this family was, well, think for yourself. Where would you feel if that were your family? Now let's skip forward 30 years. There's a lot that happened in there, but I want to summarize it. Today, that young man is 33 years old. Thanks to the support, the motivation, the love, the care of some United Way agencies such as the Children's Center, Easter Seals, Boy Scouts, Maine, and Mark, among others, he now not only walks and talks, but he completed 12 years of public school in Montgomery, Alabama, graduated from Jeff Davis High School, and never missed a day of school in 12 years. Never. That's a remarkable turnaround. Thank you, United Way. Today, he works at Mark in a sheltered workshop at the Burgess Center. He makes parts and pieces for the Black Hawk helicopter and the Airbus aircraft. He's done that for 12 years, almost 13 years, and missed only 2 days of work there, only because his mama made him stay at home, is what I understand. He gets a paycheck every other week, so he's a productive, happy, healthy, wage-earning young man, and that's what United Way is all about. He learned to more than walk and talk thanks to United Way agencies. Now, Paul Harvey has a saying. Oh, by the way, the rest of the story, if you don't know and you haven't heard this story before, that young man's name is Russell Stevenson Dunman Jr. He's the son my wife Janice and I are so proud of. And by the way, we have a beautiful married daughter who lives here in town that we're equally as proud of, who loves her brother dearly. And as Stephen, we were told might never walk or talk, I'll be honest with you, there are days now I wish he'd just sit down and shut up. There is a point to this story besides sharing what means a lot to me. If you think you've never needed United Way in any way, I thought that one time too for 11 years after I began volunteering with them. Here was a young, hotshot banker, Vietnam veteran, who didn't need anybody to help him do one thing. I could take care of myself and my family with no problem whatsoever. I didn't need the rest of it. I worked for United Way because I was told that's what I needed to do. But when you're faced with a personal situation and you find out you can't solve that on your own, it changes from a head decision to a heart decision to help someone or something. And at that point, that's when my work with United Way as a volunteer changed from a head decision to a heart decision. And there are those agencies that we have that do such great work. And there are others in town that do great things as volunteer institutions. But I want to tell you, this is a great one. Not because of Russ Dunman, or not because of anyone here, and not even because of our agency directors. It's because of the giving people in Montgomery and the River region who make those things happen. If we don't do anything other than be enthusiastic about what's happening in our community with United Way, that's the message we should leave here today with, all of us. Be proud of what we have, and I want to say how proud I am of United Way and what it's meant to me in my life and to our son Stephen's life. Thank you all for letting me share.